Yo, Caesar here,
That's you, right?
and
मेरे left से
welcome
जाना.
back to Indian Racing League or IRL. We are in round 5 at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico. I'm sure I must have messed up that name, but yeah, stick with it. Uh, so we're coming into this week after a pretty good race last week. If you haven't seen that race, I suggest you check it out. The link will be in the description. So yeah, coming into this race, I was pretty confident of my setup. I did some homework and made some minor adjustment which had a pretty good effect overall. At least that's what I feel, and with the pace that I had. So I was feeling confident of at least qualifier in the front row of the grid. So you can see we've always set up a bank curve of 14.4, which is nowhere close to what I can do. I believe in practice sessions I was doing a low to mid 13s, 13.2, 13.3. So clearly we are a second off of what we can do, and you can see we've actually messed up the first chicane massively, and we are losing time hands over fist, almost 1.5 tenths down. This is our final lap, or final hot lap, by the way. The timer will run out before we cross the finishing line, and at this point I was absolutely pissed at myself. We are gaining time here, and you'll see how much time we gain in the final 2 sectors or final track and a half. And if we invalidate to add salt to the to the already open wood, and we still carry on just to see what exactly we could have achieved if we had managed to not invalidate our lap. And you can see we are only 6 tenths, 7 tenths up, 8 tenths up. So the amount of time, and we get a tank slap out of the final corner of the track, and we do a 13.6 even after being 1.5 tenths down. So definitely 13.2 was in the bag, which yeah, we actually bottled it. So the pole time was 13.6, if I can read that correctly. The reason I'm showing you this screen is because the lobby had glitched, and yeah, the AI just kept going around in circles throughout the track. So lobby had to be restarted, so that meant everyone had to be on the fresh set of solves, at least the top 10. And yeah, you can see we were just setting out our strategy. So the strategy at this point we had was to start on soft, of course, and then go on to the mediums and be on the softs again for the final stint. So we were actually not not too sad to start in P5 actually, because in Mexico it's a long run towards D1. So slipstream will definitely help us at least gain a position or two. So it was probably a blessing in disguise, I can say, but I would have liked being at least in P3 at this point. So but it is what it is. We are starting on the 3rd row of the grid, and we were hoping for a pretty good launch of the line. We don't want people behind us to jump us on the start, because it's except this long straight there are, and of course run into turn 4. I believe it's overtaking is quite tricky. So we wait for 5 red lights to go out, hoping for a pretty good launch. And while we wait for red light to go off, and they are off, and we get a pretty good launch, and but unfortunately so does the guys in front of us. Nova manages to jump Ashwin at the start, and he is looking for the move and trying to go for P1, and he's on the inside of VFix. VFix goes deep into turn 1, but he comes back to defend his positions, but Nova is not giving up that easily, and that makes it almost 3 wide going into turn 4. Ashwin taking the opportunity. I meanwhile go up position into P4, overtaking PSI into the first chicane, but the battle for the lead is still going on. They both are side by side, and finally Nova manages to overtake VFix. So it was a long not long but hard-fought battle at the initial stages of this race for the lead, and VFX slots behind Nova here. So at this point, I was hoping that VFX stays with Nova. Nova is pretty quick at the start of this of any race, not just this race, but and yeah, just staying with him was something that I was hoping for. And yeah, one negative thing is all the guys that you see, or at least in the top 5, they are pretty much equal on the pace. So being stuck in the DRS trade is something that I was fearing, and that's exactly what is happening here. You can see we're coming towards the end of lap 4, and the top 5 have broken away from the pack behind, but it's an endless train of DRS, and we were running a low downforce setup here. I wasn't sure what others were running, but after the race I was told that some of them were running lower downforce, so there was nothing that I could do. But Ashwin going for the move on VFX, they managed to make contact, and VFX losing his car in the process. And as soon as we overtook VFX, we saw that Nova already has a 3 seconds penalty, so this was perfect for us. So that meant that we had only Ashwin to overtakes, and we were in net P2 at this point. So all we had to do is manage our race, stick with Ashwin, and just hold on to our position and wait for the right opportunity, which I think will come on this straight, where we will make the move on Ashwin. So this is what we are fighting for. We are fighting for P1 here, and you'll see we're using a lot of our ERS. We managed to save quite a bit by staying behind all these cars, and yeah, at the end it's a pretty easy move. Ashwin did not have the DRS from Nova, so Nova managed to pull a gap here, 1.5 seconds over the cars behind. And here you will see that we will push even harder to close down the gap to Nova West, and this would also mean, yes, you go purple in sector 1, that we will drag others with us. So coming to the end of lap 7, the start of lap 8, we are right behind Nova West, and using a bit of our ERS, again I'm confusing DRS and DRS, nothing new. We managed to close on the gap, but this is now a battle between 3 cars. We did manage to break away from PSI Legends in P4. So Nova West having 3 seconds time penalty. We are in net P1, but we want to be the car leading this pack, so we go to the left and break really late, trying to battle him and give him all the space. And on the outside we just get a much better traction. Nova decides to fight it out, and we give him the space that he needs, but we managed to make the move stick. And you'll see in some time that we have managed to break away from that DRS window, and we are over a second. So
I have to break in the
our usual pit window, or the default pit window, is on lap 11, but as you see, we get our first corner. This was our first corner cutting warning, by the way, so pretty clean race so far, and that warning was really stupid from my end. So coming into the end of lap 11, our usual pit stop window, but we were actually feeling quite good on the tires. It was at this point I saw my front left was 71%, so I knew that it was time to come in. You'll see Nova and Ashwin going into the pit. So my strategy here, because the lobby had restarted, was to do a longer stint on longer first stint on the softs, do a shorter stint on the medium of around 10 laps, and do an undercut on those medium tires, because I knew Ashwin and Nova will overtake me once I come into the pits at the end of this lap. So this plan was to stick behind them if they manage to jump us, and then do an undercut on the softs and take back the lead again. So that was a strategy. So looked all well and good, and my teammate had pitted at the end of this lap. I think he pitted, not this lap, sorry, the last lap, and you can see the tire wear is 75%, so 4% tire wear in 2 sectors alone on this track. And yeah, I
Boxes
had
lap.
decided that I will be coming in at the end of this lap, as we confirmed that through our MFD. So taking the correct pit entry line, and we were just keeping an eye out on the maroon and the pink dot on the map. We were hoping and praying that we come out in front of them, and as we look behind, there goes Nova West, and there is Ashwin trying to stay in front, but now the overspeed and the DRS assistance that he was getting, it was too much for us to do anything about it, and we slot in right behind these two as expected. So the plan again, as you can see, Ashwin has a 3-second time penalty as well, so the plan was to stick behind them. I am in net P1 if we do not manage to get any more warning or penalty, and happy days from there. So I did not have to try anything rash, anything stupid at this point. Just stay clean, stay behind them, and the race victory is in the bag. So staying behind them, Phantom behind us on the set of softs. He started on soft, and he is doing a second stint on softs as well. So coming back to our race, it was getting highly frustrating, just stuck behind these two guys. Frustrating in the sense because I know that in the long run, a 3-car train is never a good sight for someone who is in P3 in that train, because the guy in front will just slipstream off each other, and you're just sitting there with your DRS wide open, and there's absolutely nothing you can do, unless of course you try to be too risky. But before we proceed any further, I'll let you in at the team radio.
Okay, if a safety car comes out right now, or a VSC when you're near the pits, at this stage, go for mediums. Oh! What?
Timing, my god.
What?
So yeah, pretty good prediction there, as we were discussing the team strategy with my teammate. So yeah, safety car couldn't have come at the worst time, I can say. I mean, I did say that if it comes, and it came, but that just threw my strategy out of the window. So our plan to undercut Nova and Ashwin was definitely out of the window. So it was all about going into plan B. So the plan B was to be aggressive, while keeping in mind that we are on 2 warnings already. We had to be really careful of how we attack Ashwin, because judging by the straight line speed of Nova and the way both of us were closing down the gap in the last 2 sectors to him, Nova was running quite a slippery setup. So it was very important for me to overtake Ashwin as soon as possible to have any chance of attacking Nova in the latter stage of this race. So thoughts of China were coming back to me, the race 1 of the season, where we were stuck behind Ashwin and Arjun, and we just waited for something to happen before making our move. And that wasn't good, and that, I believe, did cost our race. And there you can see we just got our first penalty of this race. So we are from a net P1 position to now net P2. Nova has a 9 seconds penalty, so he is at a massive disadvantage here. So we needed something to happen now, and we knew that we have to overtake as we get another warning. So this is our 4th warning of this race, and I was pissed at this point. Nova is clearly pushing as he sets the fastest lap of this race, and you can see we're already out of the second window to Ashwin, and we were kind of in a mini panic. I wouldn't say panic, but yeah, we were quite nervous at this point, because we did not want to let go of Ashwin. You can see we have quite a large reserve of ERS, and we have not been using it that much after the safety car restart. So we knew that we had to do something to close down the gap, be within a second of that racing point to get that DRS
Kya hua?
advantage back, and you will see going forward a few laps, and yeah, our ERS reserve is less than half of what we had. So we clearly pushed a lot harder just to get within that DRS zone of Ashwin, and so far Ashwin has not managed to overtake Nova, but I don't think that he needs to, because he knows that I have a 3-second time penalty, so does he, and Nova in front, it has a lot of penalty compared to him as we set the fastest lap of this race. So we were clearly pushing. I believe we were quite a few laps over, I think 6 laps old. Yeah, we were on the 6 laps old mediums, and setting a fastest lap on those tires showed that we had the pace. But once we closed on the gap, it was the same story all over again. There was nothing that we could do to upset the rhythm of Ashwin to not get that DRS, as our fastest lap was beaten immediately few corners later by a serial killer. So frustrating part of this race. Our plan A was definitely spoiled by that untimely safety car, or you can say my prediction. Why did I say not that safety car thing? But it is what it is. We are in P3. We are still stuck frustratingly behind these two guys in a DRS train, and yeah, I'm just like China. The frustration that we were having with believe it was Arjun who was not able to overtake Ashwin in that case. So here you can see we're using a lot of a DRS, trying to do something about it, trying to fake ourselves going into that move. Obviously we were not, but we were trying to just do something different to break to make Ashwin fall off that DRS. It sort of worked, but sort of didn't. Actually it didn't. I mean, Ashwin is back where he was. The gap remained almost the same. So the plan was to obviously again throw him off that 1 second DRS, but did not work, and yeah, it was just a waste of our ERS reserve. You can see we are still trying to do something. With just 3 laps to go, we had to do something about it, and we were just getting now even more anxious at this stage. With 2.5 laps to go, we wanted this win. We wanted nothing less than P1 here. We are in net P2. Nova was definitely not in contention with the penalties that he had, but you can see here Ashwin gets another penalty, and during the race I did not notice. Of course, it's a sequence of corners where you need to look at the track, not at the time penalty of the drivers ahead. So we were just trying to, trying to do something and at least hope that these two guys in the front start battling, so that we are able to take some advantage of it if there was any, to go for the move at least on the racing point. You see at the braking zone here we managed to take turn one rather well, but for turn 2 we cut in a lot earlier than we would like, and we ended with a 3-second penalty, more than what we had. So here I was wondering that me and Ashwin got our penalty at the same corner. Possibly you can even hear me say that in the background, but looking back at the highlights, Ashwin had got that much before than we thought he did. So again, frustration just creeping in more and more, and there was no way, and you can see immediately we get another warning. So it was highly frustrating just to stuck behind Ashwin. You can see here going into this final corner, we threw it down the inside again just to upset the rhythm of Ashwin, throw him off of that DRS window, and I believe we did manage to succeed there. I'm not sure. We'll have to look at that again. Does he have DRS? We definitely do, and I don't think Ashwin has that DRS advantage, and you can see the gap we are closing down on Ashwin. So the plan sort of worked, and we're not close enough at this rate, but we will definitely be closer in the next DRS zone. So this was it. This we had to attack with just under 2 laps to go, and you can see Ashwin just sort of disconnecting there. So I was just hoping that by the time we close down to him, close down on him, he doesn't lag out into us and give us wing damage. Not at least at this stage of this race. And Ashwin is sort of, this connection is happening. Then you can see we've managed to overtake him. Ashwin has ghosted right at the corner, and I can confirm, even though I did not get any message, I got an information from my teammate that Ashwin has disconnected from the session on the penalty rate lap. And as happy as I was,
P8, where are you?
Personally, I think that was just a worse way to go for him out of the session. His internet needed to stay on for just a little while longer to make this race even more interesting.
Maybe I would have been
but
not more than that.
it is what it is, and it has happened with me as well. I mean, not at
still,
that stage of the race, but I've been disconnected only to not rejoin the session back, so I can understand how frustrating that is. And yeah, he was properly pissed after the race, and so all we had to do was to just stick behind Nova. And you can see without the car in between me and Nova how much we've closed down on him. So the speed advantage that we had in sector 2 and 3 was is there. It's visible. You can see how much we're literally pushing him through the corners. So taking the final corner for the final time, we had such a brilliant race, and for the second time in a row we take the checkered flag and win the Mexican Grand Prix. Not in the way that we would have liked. Unfortunately, Ashwin finished P5, or his ghost car did, and he could have had the win. He could have had a penalty. We'll never know, of course, but definitely not the race that he would have liked. So, but on a personal note, we have our second race in a win. We gain points over Nova. We gain points over the Racing Point, our constructor rivals. And yeah, pretty happy days for us. So next weekend we are racing at Singapore, which I won't be in as I'm traveling, but we will be back for USA a week later. So this is Caesar bringing you the action from Mexico. Goodbye.